This is Western Mass News.
The last two suspects tied to last week's shooting spree that left a Springfield police officer seriously injured just made their first court appearances in the case. Welcome, everyone, to Western Mass News at 5. I'm Chris Pisano.
And I'm Abby Carnevale. Western Mass News reporter Wesley Days is taking us inside the courtroom where this all took place earlier this afternoon. And he now joins us live from Springfield. Wesley, one of those two is directly tied to the officer's shooting.
Yeah, 26-year-old Dwight Clark is one of those suspects that is accused of shooting at Officer Nestor Santos and his car.
Well, take a look at the Springfield courtroom where Clark and 18-year-old Robert Willis III were arraigned on numerous firearm charges. They faced those counts in connection to Wednesday night's shooting on the 600 block of State Street. Willis and two other suspects, one of them just 17 years old, are accused of shooting at detectives who were investigating a separate situation nearby. Moments later, a Jeep Cherokee, which carried Dwight Clark, who already had a firearms warrant, and two others, including a 16-year-old, started to fire at an unmarked cruiser with an AR-15 style rifle. No officers were injured in that specific shooting. Just minutes later, Officer Nestor Santos, who was on his way to work, drove by the area and was hit by bullets coming from the Cherokee, suffering injuries to his left eye and leg. Springfield Police spokesman Ryan Walsh tells us Officer Santos is showing signs of improvement at the Boston area hospital where he's currently receiving treatment. That Cherokee and those suspects, including Clark, were later found by police on Randall Place. The Civic that held Willis and two others was found near Riverview Terrace. They were taken into custody near an I-91 on-ramp. The driver of that car hit three Mass DOT workers. One was seriously injured. Back in court, Clark and Willis faced a judge with officers standing in support for their injured colleague. Listen to prosecutors make the case to keep these two suspects locked away until their future court appearances.
The Commonwealth suggests that simply the firearms alone in the car would be enough. However, we have these firearms being used against ununiformed police officers, random indiscriminate shooting going on throughout the night in a residential neighborhood. While some gangs may claim that as their territory, there are regular law-abiding citizens that live there and do not wish to be held hostage by this violent behavior and having bullets fly around their neighborhood at night. So these are individuals that are playing around with heavy weaponry and using it indiscriminately. I'd ask that be held.
Prosecutors got exactly that. Both suspects are being held without bail, just like the three other suspects arraigned last Friday. Some suspects in this case are expected to be back in court as early as this Thursday.
It's important to note that those 16 and 17-year-old suspects were arraigned in juvenile court. Their names will not be released due to their ages. Now, tonight at 6, we're asking the question, what are we doing to ensure that kids who are ready to get out of class for the summer are staying safe in our Springfield streets? We spoke with two local community organizations about that exact question, and we're going to give you those answers in just a little bit. Reporting live in Springfield, Wesley Days, Western Mass News.